take 37. Welcome along. Good size groundswell here today. Don't forget to check that out in the drone. It's not always obvious because it's huge and passing across the wind bumps. The wind bumps are quite small on the inside if you don't paddle out very far at Maliko, and if there's groundswell it will often eat up those wind chops. So your best bet is to paddle out quite a ways into more open wind. Yeah, good turnout. There was 8 of us today. Half of us were pros, my half were not pros, but still everybody was quite talented. It was a bit of a push, bit of a struggle to get up. For me, on the 1070, I used the 1070, the 70 fuse, 45 skinny, so bit of a small rig for me at this point. It's Pace and Frank from Frank Foil Boards, both riding Frank's boards and Axis foils, which is cool. We get to share beta with that. So anyway, enjoy and see you at the end.
Alright, paddling out of Maliko with the crew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of us. Now let's just probably go put the drone up. Kane on my right, Francisco, Pace, Gabriela, Casey, I think Sam, maybe Guido, I don't know, I didn't catch the guy's name. But anyway, I'm taking out the 1070, 70 fuse with the 45 skinny today, so a size down the skinny one size. Custom Frank board. See how we go. Kane's actually using my para wing today, so we'll see what he thinks of it. It's really neat.
Here we've got some extra footage Alison got at the start of the run. It's hard to capture Kane and Gabriela as they just shoot off. Kane's borrowing my para wing there, if you can see them in the background. There's another one of us. I think that might be Casey, not sure, in the pink. Here you can see Frank making it work with a small foil. I think he's on the 1035 skinny, which is pretty impressive. Looks kind of glassy, right, on the inside. Not your typical glass, but you can see that darker line out to sea. And if you just pedal out to that, life becomes much, much easier. But we didn't, and the 3 of us here are kind of struggling at the start. Well, Frank goes off into the horizon. You can see the ocean seething here. There's a lot of movement. You've got swell coming straight across. Small wind bumps going with us, but no wind assist. It feels quite still. Having no wind assist makes it really hard to catch up to the speed of the bumps. It was pretty close from me, but I just got some water caught under the board. I did not find the runway. And then of course when there's no wind assist and you have no forward motion of your board, you lose the stability of the foil. So it's something to note. It's always your system always feels more stable if you're moving forwards. So the wind really helps with that. Probably a lot playing on my mind here. The fact that I saw half the group take off to the horizon. It builds a bit of stress, and then it doesn't take much to discombobulate me out there. I feel a lot less stress, and I typically have a smoother run if I am by myself. So rushing here and kind of fumbling the ball Pretty decent bumps though. I've learned a lot even since this video. This is a couple of weeks ago. I think I would eat these conditions up now. Made it work. You can see that swell rolling off in the background and towards land. It does interact with the wind bumps, so that's something that has to be learned or noticed. Survival pumping here, really, trying to get used to my system, trying to find my foot position, where's the pressure, where do I want it to be, diagnosing whether or not I've got the right setup at all. Am I getting some lift? What's my speed doing? What's my natural foil speed? Is my natural foil speed and cruising speed enough to keep up with the bumps? It's quite important to learn, because if you don't know what speed you can do comfortably, you'll not use it efficiently. So before feeling out the foil speed, I might be pumping, chasing bumps and doing things because I don't know any better at that point. So I really need to ride high, stop pumping, find something steep, and then just feel out how fast do I go, how much momentum do I have, where's my inertia going to take me, and then you can start picking better lines that are more efficient. So if you just find that you're working hard all the time, you might be pushing your system harder than it, or faster than it naturally wants to go. If that is the case, what can you do? You can just find lines that will be slower. If the bumps are moving faster than you, you can just cut back across them, find sections that are naturally moving slower. I'm cutting out here to the more into the wind line. You can see the white caps are getting a bit steadier. Allison's being very brave, following us out this far to the right. There is always a little bit of concern whether or not we'll get the drone back to land. Nice big bowl there, in front and to the right. It's just exactly what you want to see when you're downwinding. Some peak speeds there, I think I saw 34. That ocean was just stunning.
Oh, that was intense.
Allison needs to get back to land now. Nice. Yeah, boy. See a code foil there. Maybe a Frank board. Hard to say. back to our usual scheduled viewing. Looks like I've gotten pretty comfortable, and I am running with the bumps there quite straight, so that's cool. Although I kind of had that tragic-y start, I hadn't actually fallen, or I don't think I've fallen so far in the middle of a run. So, I mean, I'm hard-pressed to call these runs an ace when I fumble it like that with those starting points, but kind of. I think I'll watch along with you guys and just I'll add in anything that I see or think. This board has just been a dream. It's growing on me more daily. I'm just so stoked on the thing. 810, 16 3/4, 110 litres. It is basically the production 8.4 stretched out to 8.10. I actually think I like the production foot grip better than the custom. That's something you guys will get when you buy the production board. You get a nice board bag and front and rear nose cones. Somebody pointed out to me the other day on the water that the whistle is the signature of my videos. I probably shouldn't have pointed that out in case you weren't hearing it. Sorry about that. Some good speeds there. Oh, here we go. Who's that? Oh, that's Casey there. Nice. Yeah, okay, I remember this. He's going to be on the 110 or 130 lift. A lot of style, efficient riding. It's quite surfy, Casey's riding. And unfortunately it's very hard for me to keep up with him, so I can't really film him. Good sized water, quite chunky, quite blocky. When it draws out in front of you like this and just offers downhill, you can kind of just tap it. And then before you run into the uphill in front of you, just veer off and use that speed to pick a new path. I'm slowly getting more used to these smaller foils and learning how to keep my speed high throughout the turns. You really have to, unless you're going to pump. So I'm learning better lines.
Big conditions, big run, big crew. So good.
See, I'm pretty stoked there. I still haven't broken the 2-minute barrier yet. My fastest kilometre to date is 2 minutes and 12 seconds. From what I've seen anyway, I don't always check.
Fish.
And my mind is being opened to the 1,000 fireball, which is around 770 centimetres, I think, square. So I've been subfoiling it, getting used to the balance of it, flat water paddling it, and I think I can take it into the bumps. I'm likely to pair it with the 35 or 40 skinny, probably the 40. What am I using here? Was it the 40 or the 45? I've also used the 1070 with the 35, and that feels really good too. Plenty of pressure when you're up to speed. Looks like I'm wise enough to not try and chase down Casey. You see the ocean offering me up different paths in front. I'm kind of going straight downwind currently because I have momentum and pace to do it. If it looks like I can't make an uphill section, I'll turn away from it. So there I am, pointing straight downwind again, veering left to not overrun the uphills. And then if you're going left or right, you typically have access to riding valleys and faces down the line. Trying to keep the speed up in my turns. It's easy to get lazy with the turns and to kind of pivot turn and lose your momentum. But that can lead to disaster, having a slower speed, especially if you get stuck somewhere on a bump that you don't want to be. It can be good to add a few maintenance pumps. I'm pumping there, it looks like, to build pace to match the environment, the local environment where I am. They are not self-propulsion pumps, they're kind of speed generating pumps. You'll see me using the digging pumps when I end up in a bad spot. Or I might do it early if I think I'm going to be faced with a bad spot. So nowhere to go, stuck with uphills all around me. It does happen. And then you kind of, at that point, you want thoughtful pumping. So you're trying to also use the water's terrain to your advantage. You don't just do, well, at least I don't just do powerful pumps unthinkingly. I will try and use any height variations to get free mast height. And if you do need to rebuild speed, often pointing downwind is better than pointing across or upwind. That sounds obvious, but a lot of people tell you to not chase something in front and to turn back upwind and connect to something that's coming towards you. And that can often be fine, and that's great if you have good speed already. But if you are digging and you turn into the wind, you might just be stopped still. So I would say
intense, guys.
Don't forget to pump straight downwind as well, using that wind as assistance. But do it sensibly. So use the wind as assistance, but try and find a low point as quick as possible. You don't want to be pumping downwind through an uphill.
Ground on the pros.
Still cutting right here. This is still early days for my downwinding in Hawaii. And I am avoiding the reefs that I'm unsure where they are. There is outer reefs along the Maliko, and big swell does break, and this is a few runs back, so you know I might have done 20 runs since this run, just for a point of reference. And I've now learned where a lot of the reefs are. I ride much closer to the land, and I've started utilizing the reefs. But what the reefs do when they're not breaking with groundswell is they pull the energy out of the water. So they drag the energy out. The water slows up. And it could be a bit tricky and a bit technical. I just said my heart was racing. I think that's through excitement, and these
Half swerving.
conditions are getting bigger and bigger. You got some big conditions to look forward to. There's some days that got to 40 plus knots, closer to 50. Those will be coming up in the near future, so stay tuned. It was a bit intimidating going out on those bigger wind days. I haven't had that much success in New Zealand when it gets big. The water moves around a lot. You get a lot of refraction, a lot of bounce from the rocks. The Maliko handles the bigger winds a bit better, as the energy is running parallel down across the land often. Most always. Does that sound correct? Most likely. I'm not going to say any more there. Powered up enough that I can ride reasonably low on the mast there. All I'm thinking about is keeping my board off the water. I'm not thinking about riding high for efficiency. With that half-mast riding, I can turn pretty hard without worrying about breaching the front foil or rear foil. Haven't come across any seaweed so far in these runs. A lot of turtles, a few whales. There was a whale in one of those previous videos. I've come across quite a few whales now. Some quite close encounters. Saw that shark a few runs ago, but not really seen any obvious shark life since, which is nice. Comforting. Non-terrifying. So that bump passed in front of me, but I can chase it down, and I might even be able to overtake it again. As the bump behind lifts me up to a high point. Lots going on with the water, it's ever changing. It's not really random, the movement in the water is quite logical, but you don't see the full picture, which makes it seem random and can be unpredictable. But also, after saying that...
Zero gravity drop then. Timestamp to talk and think about it later. The water was falling away as fast as I was going down.
Yeah, I remember that moment. I'll watch the video back again and see what happened there. It felt like I was falling, like an elevator. Ground swell there coming toward me a little bit. Not as noticeable out in the deep. But I'll probably get a boost. So I'm definitely riding below my energy threshold, my limits, but still pumping a fair bit. So this is fine for this length run, and this is probably sustainable riding for me, to be honest. I'm not afraid to add in pumps. I don't feel the need to do the no pump challenge during my riding. I do attempt it and try to do sections without much pumping, but pumping is a useful tool in downwinding and shouldn't necessarily be avoided. Counter to that, you don't want to be pumping your whole way downwind. I see guys that do it, and they're often more interested in going fast than surfing. So these HA13 foils feel kind of surfy. The results don't look too surfy, but you do still get flowing sensations through the turns. So I'm kind of surfing it as much as the equipment and the environment and my mind at the time allows. Sometimes I just forget, and I'm just concentrating on pathways and utilizing the terrain that the ocean is offering there. That board looks so sick. Perfect width for me, 16 and 3/4. I've been talking to Frank about another custom board. You could say that it is a race board, potentially. There might be some news coming. The sun gets quite glary for the Maliko run in the afternoon. I do have sunglasses on my hat. I never use them because those ones are quite scratched up. Their main purpose is holding my, lashing my, what do you call them? Vibration technology headphones. I forget the brand. What's the brand? Shocks. Yeah, Swim Pro shocks. So yeah, the headphones are tethered to the sunglasses floaty. I do get migraines, and if that happens out in the water, then the sunglasses will go on to try and block the light until I can get through the migraine. A lot of it is light sensitivity. You can see that the water's gone a little bit green, a little bit lighter, and that's because I've gotten myself it probably is reef. It's definitely a shallower section of water, and I can tell now watching this because the waves and bumps are moving slower. Less vertical changes, more plateaus, more rounded. But what I will get is some swell coming from the right, from out to sea. And there, behind the speed dial there, I can see white water. So potentially by Camp 1 there, maybe uppers. White water in the background. I've started tapping into that on some of these runs when the swell isn't too big. I have also been caught out by those swells on some of these runs that you will see in the future. Hopefully not today. A lot of Maui is that flat land in the background. It's a valley that lies between two mountains, volcanoes, I guess. So the wind gets a bit compressed by those high land masses, and then it just shoots through that low point. And on the other side of that land mass, it will be offshore. And so you can get bay runs, kihei runs there.
Right next to the outer reef.
I think I'm on the outer reef. Straight downwind again. You can see I just keep veering off away from the hills. Pumping for some pace to drop in. Cut through that uphill using momentum. (21 to 24 kilometers an hour seems to be a nice zone for the setup. A lot of that depends on the foil that you've chosen. A smaller foil will want to sit up in that higher range if it's available. A bigger foil will want to sit lower. But they'll cross. There's plenty of crossover between them. It's just where do you want that average to be? Lens check. board doesn't look too big for an 810, let me tell you. In the zone here, not really thinking about turning at this point because it's a little bit flatter. This is about efficiency and just kind of keeping forward momentum. Kind of thinking about heading back inland as you're getting closer to the harbour, but the closer that you get inland, the slower the water moves. The real wind is out to sea.
Tricky spots now. Getting used to this. Smaller foil today. Save energy, keep speed up, keep cutting left.
Well, there you go. The Maliko run initially seemed longish to me. It's getting shorter the more I get used to it, but it has quite it has some individual parts to it, and there's a few different flavors along the way. So when it's quite big, this inside section here slows up and allows you to really take it on, and it also steepens and it can be quite fun. Not these conditions, but give it another 20 knots. Any bets on if I make it to the boat ramp?
I keep looking over the shoulder for sets. You don't want to get caught on this reef. Not that there's a whole lot I could do. Pray. Quick prayer.
I just subfoiled pair 1 the other day, and it is quite a solid wave down there.
That was a really bad choice.
If you do make a bad choice, just try to keep momentum high. Don't get upset. As you can see, it's quite flat here, but the 1070 is handling it well. Compared to what I'm used to, it definitely has more comfort in the higher range, but the lower ranges do exist. It's a very usable foil. I can see why John liked it. get in. You can see I'm riding this board just slightly toward the back. Not a big fan of the back of the board heading down anymore, and instead of centralizing my stance, I've started shifting myself backward. I don't see a downside now in having the longer front. That is often what you're directing, and it's very rare that you're going to touch down that front. But because the back of the board is often behind you, it can be forgotten about. And if it's too long, it's less than ideal for me now. Moving my stance back just a few inches really makes a big difference on the touchdowns. It also gives you a bit more leverage over the floor. In my vest, I've got my phone, I've got a PLB. Don't think I've got a tourniquet at this stage, but Alison bought me a tourniquet. And I've also got my migraine pills. It's either the smokestack chimney or the ground tower for the airport there. I think it's the chimney. On the left. It looks like there's no cruise ship today, but you don't really need it to locate because you have that beautiful valley up ahead. That valley will bring you home. No longer wearing the knee braces. I think they were helpful. If nothing else, they give you a little sense of security. Yeah, pretty mild conditions on the inside here, but plenty to work with.
Caught up to the peaks. I took a more inside line. Pretty cool.
A lot of the local guys, more on the beginner end of the scale, don't really like this end section. They will often opt to go in a bit earlier. But I've actually found this finish to be pretty decent going into the harbour. It's quite a direct line and you've got energy most of the way and you extend the run. But you can come into Sugar Cove, which which I've done now. Kanaha, Kaha Point. A lot of options when there's not large swell. Pretty good setup with the axis leash. It doesn't bang down like some of the others. And it's a good leash position on the board. But one thing it does do is it wraps around the rear end of the board sometimes. And a few times I've done the whole run with the leash wrapped around the back of the board unknowingly. Bit of a kook move, but made it work. See the entry gate there to the harbour, just above my head there. Best to aim for the left end. If you aim for the right end and you come down, you're going to run out of downwind to get back on foil. If you aim for the left side of it, which is upwind, and you come down, you've still got a chance to make it up on foil and make the gate. You do start getting some bounce from the rock walls here, the wave breakers. Probably makes it a bit more technical. Definitely slows the water up. But honestly, when you see this rock wall, you're pretty happy that the run is over. You've made it home. You might be upset that your run is over and you want to do another one. That's great, but it's always nice to make it in. I was just discussing with Alison a little bit earlier about her doing her first Maliko. I do Maliko to Sugar Curve tomorrow. Yet to be seen. I'll update you guys on if that happens. One of the other local riders, Flo. Most of the guys hit the clock when they make it through this gateway. It's kind of it signifies the end of the run. A lot of guys will push through to get to the ramp, but it's not really necessary, and it's not overly easy here either. If the swell's not coming in, it's a bit of a push to make it in one. Through the gate, doesn't look too much different, but no more wind assist. Somebody on a wing there. Kahalui Harbour is a great place for some flat water winging. Duotone wing, I think. So there I'm kind of thugging it, keeping speed high. I'm riding down the line of these bumps, but now I've actually started just going more of a straight line point and shoot, pumping through whatever's in front of me and then using height variation to try and get a glide. So A to B rather than riding down the line, trying to glide my way in. It's more of a battle now. Although I watched Kane come in the other day and he did it with complete ease. Most of the rest of us are steaming, boxed by the time we get to the ramp. Kane looked like he could keep going forever. It's always nice when somebody else is sitting on their board on the inside. Use them as an excuse to come down.
Alright, made it in. That pumping at the end's not worth it. I think I'm going to call it quits for that now. I've got to the boat ramp a few times. It's not worth the stress on the knees, so see how we go. Good wind this time, good bumps. I feel like I might have got some good speeds and like 10-second times or whatever. Got some groundswell for a bit, so that was really awesome. Toward the end where it slowed up a touch after maybe just after uppers and lowers, whatever. Somewhere anyway. So I'll get in. Alison might be waiting to tag team. So we'll get in and make sure that she gets out. Be good guys, see you in the next one.
This is the drone coming back into Hukipa. One of the only surf spots for typical surfing. Best kilometer 224. Reasonably slow. Mostly in the 2.5 minute range. You don't need a small foil for that. I could have easily been on a bigger size. Anyway guys, hope you enjoy another Maui saga. Be good, look after yourselves, stay safe, stay hydrated, do your stretches. Bye.